Sipping with Sue time. And if you're joining us for the first time, we are chatting with real people doing real things extraordinarily. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you have not headed over to my YouTube channel, please head over there, subscribe, and hit the bell to get all of the latest content as soon as it is uploaded. So we are at the end of the week. Cheers. I'm with my lovely good old buddy here, Diane. Cheers. I know she doesn't have any beverage of, well, your beverage of choice right now is what, water in that cooler? But cheers, you guys. It's time to let our hair down. We're at the end of another week, so TGIF. Again, we are welcoming Diane Schaefer, who has turned beautiful imagery into stunning mosaics. So welcome, Diane. How are you?
I am good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself so that folks can get acquainted with you.
I currently live in Las Vegas. I'm active duty military. I am married to I have four children. My oldest child is 22, almost 20, son in the Navy. I have a 12-year-old in 6th grade, and I have a 4-year-old that gets to go to school soon. And so I do computers for a living, and be outdoors doing things that I sometimes don't get to do that as much as I'd like. And I'm currently working. I'm about 60% done, and I'm very excited to be finished soon.
60% done, huh? Well, yes. Amazing. And so again, folks, so female, active duty military, which is why she's not drinking right now. Not just yet. Hey, I just lost you. Are you still there? Okay. Are you still there? I can't hear you. I lost your audio. All right. Just a little bit of technical difficulties. Yeah. Okay, I hear something.
Okay, it's my microphone's back. Now I'm going to plug in my headset.
All right, awesome.
All right. Don't know what happened there.
Yeah, so you're about to retire, which is fabulous. So maybe like a little bit. You're close. You're close to the end. So over 20 years in, and she's just plugging away. So thank you for your service, and thank you for you and your husband and what you guys are doing, and being a super mom of 3 children, you know, an adult offspring, right? Because I have one of those too. But yeah, and then you've got little ones after that. So more power to you. That is awesome. So when it comes to your craft and what you're doing, I know that we are always looking at, you know, trying to come up with the absolute perfect gift. I know I am. I'm always reeling, because after, especially family members and you know, friends that you've had for like decades, you're like, what am I going to come up with? What's the perfect gift? What can I get this person? And you've done just that by, you know, creating these beautiful moments and memories with mosaics. So how did you get started with that?
So it's interesting. My sister is a photographer, and she was getting married. And so I was really trying to think, like, what gift do you get a photographer? They love photos. And my original idea was I wanted to create like a disco ball with pictures in it that you'd put a light in, and it would just shine your pictures everywhere. And then I'm like, okay, I might be trying to bite off more than I could chew. But that kind of got the thought process of like, well, what if I could take all of her pictures and create one moment? And so I went to her wedding, and I asked her if I could use her camera to take pictures of her wedding while her photographer was taking pictures. And what photographer doesn't want pictures of their events that they can't photograph themselves? So I ended up with about 763 pictures of that I took, and that what her photographer took. And so started, you know, tooling around and I've done a lot with Photoshop. So tried to figure out what I could do to put all of those in one image for her. And so then it was just a lot of trial and error to see how you could overlay one picture over all of those and have her be able to have all those special moments.
That's awesome. So how long does it take? I mean, 736 pictures. I'm sure there's other, projects that you've made that potentially are larger or potentially smaller. How long does it take to create? And what's like the medium kind of amount of images that are normally used for mosaic?
So the least amount I do is 100.
Okay.
But then I have to get really creative because the pattern will repeat or the pictures will be very large. And so the last thing you want to do is look at it and have a repeating pattern. So if I have 100 pictures, what I'll do is, so you have to edit each one to be exactly the same size. So if they're all, some are portrait and some are landscape, I might have to crop it and then fill it in with a similar color so it doesn't look weird when I put it into a mosaic. Then once I have them all the same shape exactly and size, then what I'll do is I'll actually copy them and make like a second set. So I have two.
Uh-oh, I lost you again. All right, just some technical difficulties again. So we'll just hang tight and see if she comes back in. Okay, there you go. All right.
now you can see my work computer. Okay, there you can see me now. Unfortunately, I'm on my phone and I don't know how to make it not ring. And so like when somebody calls me, it keeps trying to go to a phone call.
Yeah. No worries.
I don't know if I could put it on do not disturb, but
so I keep mine. I keep my phone on do not disturb, so you totally can.
Give me 1 second and I'm going to do that so that I don't keep cutting people off.
No worries. We have all this technology. I'm telling you, it gets like a little quirky sometimes.
Yeah, you think you've got everything down. It's like nobody calls you all day, and as soon as you want to do something, all of a sudden you're
especially when you're live, and then they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah, I think I have it now. Yeah, I have it now on do not disturb. So you edit all the pictures and then I duplicate the pictures and then I have to randomize the second set so that the pictures aren't in the same order, so that then it doesn't look like this repeated pattern, because otherwise you end up with like background squares that are just repeated. And it makes it a little bit more seamless. Or if I really want to make a good custom picture, I'll actually crop down some of the pictures so that the pictures are actually different. Like maybe it was a group picture and I just take it down to one person in it. So that it looks like, so I can get creative. So 100 is the minimum. 100 pictures and creating an image is probably 8 hours worth of work, 8 to 10 hours worth of straight work.
Wow.
And that's if like they're all different. If somebody gave me all landscape pictures, all the same size, it would be much easier. But normally that's not what happens.
No.
They're full of random pictures and I'm filling it in.
Yes.
763 pictures is, that's days and days of work. And then it depends on how many different, because I usually give people like 5 or 6 cover images. Like I might change the colors a bit. I might make some black and white backgrounds with a color front. So I'll do different types and I'll send it to them once I get a couple really unique approaches to it. So, and that's kind of why, like, normally it's how many background images drives how much it costs, because it drives how much effort is in it.
Gotcha. Okay. And so it could run between 8 hours of straight work to like a week or a couple of weeks?
Normally not longer than a week.
Okay.
Normally.
Gotcha. So is there so you use Photoshop, and Photoshop is, to me, is just like, so, for me, this is Szu-Moy. It's such a, I get so frustrated with it a lot of the time. So is there a specific technique that you use when you're going into Photoshop, or besides the cropping and I guess, with the different colors and how you're bringing the entire image together with all of these different smaller images?
Yeah. So, building a contact sheet to put a pattern on the back is the easiest way to do it. And knowing how to do the settings so there's no space between because like a contact sheet normally has like a picture and a big white space around it. So you've got to build your contact sheet appropriately. And then the other piece is like normally, like, you know how if you have all your pictures in your computer and like you look at the albums, like you can see all of them as an icon. Yes. I try to align that window to be the size so that I can see the same amount of pictures that will go in a row in my image, so that I can see if my color grouping is off. Because when you do a wedding, you have to think, like, say an outdoor wedding, it starts off and there's green and grass because you're taking pictures of all the people approaching. And then as the wedding is going on, it's all pictures of just like the white dress and the black suit or whatever color that the groom's suit is. And then you have like the nighttime dancing, and that's a whole different color. So if you allow it to just automatically go in the folder and create the contact sheet, you're going to have all these groupings of color in it. And then it's going to look weird. So you actually have to randomize those so that I have a picture of the bride in her dress, and then I have the bridesmaids, and then I have the green grass, and then I have a night dancing picture. So that can, like, it kind of is monotonous, but like I'll go in and I'll renumber. So I'll take all of the like garden picture. I usually do it by letters. So I'll go in and like for the bride pictures, I'll letter them A through Z. And then I'll go in and I'll do the garden pictures next and number them A through Z. And then it'll auto make them A1, A2, A3. And so then when I look at it, now I have them all sorted out so that they don't look the same. That's the most tedious part. That's why it takes so long, is because the ending image, if you have everything the same, like you don't want to look at like this mosaic and have one grouping of the groom and then one grouping of the bride. And then you really want it to be like everywhere I look is a different image. And
so that's probably the most tedious part, like you said, is to randomize and organize, I guess, all of these photos so that it does fit in that big image. Wow, that's like crazy.
And then you have to have it be an even multiplier. So whatever the size you're doing, you have to make sure that you have like it's 10 by 10 or 12 by 10. And so your picture numbers have to match up to, you know, what size are you going to do a square repeating pattern, or are you going to do a rectangular repeating pattern? And so then having the right number of pictures in that, and then you can change your size of how big your background pictures are.
Yeah, that sounds like because I remember when we talked, I showed you that I just used an app and like did a really quick mosaic, and it was definitely randomized, not randomized. It was actually not randomized because yours definitely, you can see how clear everything is, and how, because you're going through painstakingly to make sure that every single image is different and it isn't clustered together. And that one is because it's done like automated. It's just like boom, and you do see it's repeating a lot of the pictures and it's not in a random order. And so, I mean, yeah.
It's definitely like the difference for the ones I make is because every background image is a full resolution, and like usually they're high resolution background images. So like I actually bought a different computer to be able to process pictures, because like part of my time was just I would update something and I'd have to wait until the computer like processed it, and then I could do the next step. So I bought a much faster processor so that I could do the pictures, but it allows me to print extremely large. I mean, like I can do wall sized metal prints. And then you can clearly see the individual pictures in it.
Yeah, the resolution's like pristine. So yeah, that's a big deal, because again, I have to, like, for mine, I was like, well, you can zoom in and then you can see it, but it's not anything like, you clearly see the difference between what like I did in an app when it was just like thrown in there with like a bunch of pictures, and then you doing it by hand. It's completely like this really gorgeous image. Like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, I have two of them here in my office.
Oh, fabulous. Is it your wedding picture?
My wedding picture, and then Captain Marvel.
Oh. Freaking awesome. I love it. So you've done the mosaics, you've done a whole lot of that. And you started, did I ask you, when did you start doing, actually running this?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It was in September, no less. So like almost to the day. My sister got married September 26th of 2020. So.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So definitely hobby turned passion, turned into like, you know, a business now, basically. So you've also done, outside of the mosaics, you've done some really fun other things like, I don't know, a giant life-size nutcracker. Can you tell us the story behind it and what it took to make it?
Yeah, so my husband collects nutcrackers, and so we have about 47 nutcrackers that we set up when the holidays come.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always looking at those life-size ones, and he's like, "Man, this is so cool! Like, I wish I had a life-size
Mm-hmm.
nutcracker." And I'm like, I love you, but I don't have like $1,500 to go buy you this life-size nutcracker. So he was on a 1-year remote in Korea, and he was coming back for Christmas, and I'm like, well, like maybe I can make him a nutcracker, because I already made him like a regular size custom one. Like, I didn't make it, I just ordered it.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, I did that. And so I started looking around like online, like, self-made plans. And I found a few plans, like, well, that's workable. So took a few ideas from some different ones, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. And went down to Home Depot and bought a couple sheets of plywood and a sheet of plastic and some PVC pipes and a sheet of styrofoam. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to give this a shot. And it was tedious, painstaking. There were some errors I had to go back and redo. There were some things that weren't, like the person that had made one before that I got some of the ideas from, the materials that they had listed weren't even available anymore. So I had to improvise. So it ended up being a body that's made out of like the core skeleton is made out of wood. And then it's wrapped in like laminate sheeting, like white laminate sheeting that can be painted. And then the legs are made out of HVAC ductwork, because that's a 6-inch diameter. And then the arms are made out of PVC pipe that's 4-inch in diameter. And then the head is made out of styrofoam that you just take a sheet and you cut down into 19-inch squares, and then like literally press it together and glue it with like craft glue. And then once it's dry, you take a hacksaw and you start to shape it, and then you use a belt sander and you just roll it like a lathe and really get the shape down. Then it was putting all the pieces together and starting to paint and building a template so I can make sure I didn't mess up the paint. And I would say, I was in my mind, I thought like this will turn out decent. But like when I was finished, I was like, wow, I made that.
And how tall was it?
9 foot tall.
It's crazy. So you were on a ladder doing some of this stuff.
Oh yeah. Like, because it assembles in 3 pieces. So like you make the body, and then the legs and the base, and then the head and the hat. Because I did the Uncle Sam design. So it has the big top hat.
Yeah. And of course, and hubby was like, whoa.
Yeah, well, so first I did hurt myself. At one point I did cut myself when the plastic popped up when I didn't expect it to, and ended up getting quite a few stitches in my hand. And so my husband, so we made him close his eyes when we picked him up from the airport, and then like drove him up to the house, and then made him walk up, and he like walks up and he's like, wait, you made this? Like, you made this? Like, I have it on video. He's like, but you actually made this? And then he was like, okay, at what part were you building when you almost like cut off your hand?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But all digits are intact.
All digits are. I still have all of them. Yes.
And
no nerve damage either. I was very fortunate.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I learned to maybe wear those metal protective gloves that keep you from cutting yourself when you're using a straight razor on curved laminate.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's scary. That's scary. Oh my goodness. Yes, well, that is amazing. We have Janet. Hi, Janet. And she's like, wow, that's amazing. Yes, definitely amazing. So you've done the mosaics, you've done the Nutcracker. Have you done any other projects outside of that?
So, I mean, me and my husband are always trying to find ways to outdo ourselves or each other.
Just a little competitive, just a little.
And it's not really, yeah. Well, and it's not so much. It's like we want to prove that, like, I know you, right? Like,
Gotcha.
I know you, and I can do something. And it's not about what's most expensive; it's about what's most creative.
Okay.
And so, like, I have made my husband's job in the Air Force has a very distinctive logo. And so I ordered the Lego pieces and designed in Photoshop a model for a Lego version of his patch. And so we made it's 2 foot by 3 foot, and it's like 17,000 Legos. and it's
And
his
you
career
had
filled
to
patch.
put it all together, right? It
Yeah.
just comes in.
Yeah, I just get bags of little bits of Legos and then I put it together. So I literally made the pixels to show like what colors, and then like redesigned it until I had the framework right, and then used my kids to help attach the Legos to the board. And
Wow.
it
Wow.
worked out fantastic. And then I made a beer flight for someone's going away. So
Okay.
we have military coins, and
Mhm.
so I actually like put them recessed into the wood,
That's very
carved that
cool.
out, and then put the glasses, and like it's all like Home Depot. I bought like straight panels of wood and then like handles that you would do on your like cabinets, and
Uh-huh.
that's the handles to pick up the flight.
That's
And
very
then
cool.
yeah.
So you guys spent some time in Germany, I'm assuming.
I have, yes, and he has, not together but separately. Yes, we
That's
do like our
awesome.
beer tastings, for
Yes,
sure,
yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
he's
I am a wine girl, but when
yeah.
in Germany, I do love their beer. Just like
Well,
in the UK, I love their beer.
my husband's mother was born in Switzerland,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and then immigrated to the United States when she was like 17. So he's gone back and traveled back many times. And of course,
Okay.
many people speak German there, and
Mhm.
they've spent time in the surrounding countries. So
Yeah, we did a trip to Lucerne. I want to say it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And up until that point, I always thought that Austria was the most picturesque backdrop that I had ever been to when I was in another country. I was like, oh my gosh, Austria, look at this, the countryside, and look at how it looks like a postcard. And then I went to Switzerland and I was like, oh my
yes,
God.
so beautiful, so
It's
beautiful.
ridiculous. Yeah, it was so, it just didn't look real. Everywhere you walked, and you can drink the water out of the fountains. It was really fresh and it was really awesome. So I was like, man, it's just, definitely a really good time in
Yeah.
Europe for sure, for sure. So I know Janet's online, and Janet is a photographer, funny enough. And so if you're doing photos, if you're wanting to request a mosaic from you of pictures and stuff like that, how do people get in touch with you? And what do we
So
need to do?
I do. So I labeled my brand, Make My Memories Mosaic.
Hmm.
Um, and so I just call it M4. But and so then I have a Facebook page, and then I also created like a storefront, and the Facebook page will take you to the storefront. So if they
Okay.
search Make My Memories Mosaic, and so then normally like I can help facilitate printing
Hmm.
on different medium. I do printing on acrylic, and I also do printing on metal. I don't do that personally, but
Hmm.
I have some great resources to order, and know which ones print better quality than
Hmm.
others. But mainly I just sell the digital image.
Hmm.
So I'll create that digital image, and then like sometimes people want, like, once they give me the backgrounds and I create them, they might
Hmm.
want, like for my sister, we talked about doing one with her as the front and one with him as
Hmm.
the front, and like doing
Okay.
two small ones, so the groom and the bride, and then the big picture of both of them in the center.
Uh-huh.
And so just redoing the front picture and keeping the same background is a much smaller fee to just
Hmm.
update the front picture. Sometimes people want me to make it black and white or color, and I'll
Hmm.
make those adjustments.
Hmm.
So I try to make it as affordable as possible while still getting the money for my time. And I don't think I make them too pricey. And it's also by how many pictures.
Right, right. Because
So when
again,
you're
it's if it's less pictures, it's going to take a lot more time to kind of
right.
finagle into that one beautiful
Yeah.
image. Well, yeah. So Janet's saying I liked your page earlier, so that she can reach out when she wants something done, and I'll definitely reach out because again, these are memories, and these are like the perfect gift
Yeah.
for folks that they have everything. What can I get them? And this is like absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. So.
And there's some things I do that, like, so I think I've done, like, because it's all word of mouth at this point. I don't advertise a lot because I
Mhm.
obviously know I have another job, but I like doing them.
A very important job.
Yeah. But so like some of the ones I've done, like when my son turned 3, I took every picture that was taken from when he was 2 to when he was 3 and created a mosaic of all those pictures with one of my favorites. And so that was like his 3-year-old picture. And so it's like through the years, and it's just a quick way, instead of having a photo album sitting on a shelf that you never open, it's like this, you know. And then of course I've done 7 that other people have requested. Like retirement pictures are great from a job, because they'd give me like their retirement picture and then like a whole bunch of pictures throughout their career, and I put that on there. Weddings are great. And then so there's licensing issues with getting into like favorite characters unless it's for personal use. So like I do Marvel ones, but like I can't like put a Marvel one out there and sell it. But if somebody tells me like, hey, I have all these pictures and I want to create an image, but I'm not using it for resale, then I can put all of their favorite pictures in there, and then they can, you know, print it and use it. So I have a lot of Marvel. The one I made it for Marvel, it literally has every character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to the time when Captain Marvel was published. So you'll see Red Skull in there. You'll see all of the characters that have a name are in there. And then I'll just put a different superhero on the front. So if they want, you know, Captain Marvel, I'll put Captain Marvel. If they want Spider-Man, I'll put Spider-Man.
That's super cool too. Yes. Love, love, love. Awesome. So, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. I know we had our times. I thought you were East Coast and you're actually West Coast. So I'm like, she's still at work. Oh my gosh. So I'm so sorry, but I'm also very grateful to get this time with you. And I'm so happy that you're able to come on and just give us a little insight into what you're doing. And again, we're about to like hit up Christmas and, you know, holiday season. And this is like the perfect, like I said, the perfect gift idea, I think, and very personal and very unique. So I appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd want to add?
I just appreciate the time and getting to spend time with you again, and of course getting to tell people the opportunity, and I think it's less about like coming and buying my mosaic, and it's more about take your creative idea and work with it. And it's amazing what you can do when you say like, I can do this. You'd be surprised at what you're capable of if you don't tell yourself like, oh, that's too hard, I can't do that.
Exactly. So before I let you go, I always like to, with my guests, do a just for fun speed round. So are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So your favorite Marvel character?
Captain Marvel.
We've been talking about him the whole entire time. Okay. So what is the largest Lego set that you own?
I think that would be a tie between the one I made for my husband, because that was probably the most Legos, and the full-size Millennium Falcon.
Oh wow. Okay. Awesome. And then how many pieces were in those?
The one for my husband was 17,000, but it's flat. So it's all just single dimensional pieces. The other one was I want to say about 4,000 pieces, but obviously it constructs a 3-dimensional shape. So it's a little more complicated.
Yes. All right. So, okay. Would you rather sew or hammer?
I think sometimes I try to sew with a hammer.
Yeah.
So probably a hammer.
All right. Most difficult project that you've ever taken on?
So my mother, when I went to Korea, my mother had a house and she moved. And then when I came back, I had to completely remodel that house, to turn a den into a bedroom, redo the roof, completely rip out the kitchen and replace all of the wall and the cabinets and the drywall, and then resurface a pool.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I spent 2 years every weekend driving from Tucson up to Phoenix to work on the house every weekend. And then, but she managed to sell it.
Yeah. So do you have some of the, well, obviously you're pretty handy, very handy with what, you know, the different skill set that you have and the things that you're doing. Are you YouTubing this stuff, or you're just like, I got it under control? It's just,
I mean, that one I think was before the time of YouTube. That was like 2006, 2007 timeframe. So I had worked construction sites with my dad from the age of about 9.
Gotcha.
So most of the stuff I knew, and if I wasn't sure how to do it, like toenailing, framing up a wall, you want to make sure you get it right. So I did have some people come in and double check my work before I put my drywall on.
Gotcha.
But yeah, just having all that time out there. There's some things I don't touch because like, you know, like plumbing. I replaced the toilet, but I did have the plumber come out and check and make sure that I had sealed it correctly so that we didn't have some serious leaks, because you don't want to get into like permit violations and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's nuts. Well, again, appreciate it. Thank you so much. And that is like amazing. Like the little things that I know about like my car and the things that I've done with like my stuff, because we were like, oh, you know, this, that, and the other. And now it's a lot of everything's a freaking computer. Everything's a computer. But before that, I mean, if I needed to get underneath the hood or underneath the car, that was because of, you know, Dad showed me a little bit of here and there. And of course, hammer and nail as opposed to a needle and thread. But I actually, I knew both. So it was pretty cool, thankfully.
Yeah. I used to always say, you know, it's funny. I used to always think like my dad wanted a son. And then I was doing a speech not too long ago in front of a large crowd. And I said, how limiting was that for me to say that? Because what my dad really wanted me to do is to do what I love. And he never created any boundaries on like, oh, that's guys' work or that's girls' work. It's like, if you're into it, let's do it and I'll teach you how. And so like, that's how I approach it with my kids is I don't put boundaries on anything. If you're interested in it, let's go learn it.
Do it. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Diane, for coming on again. And for everybody else, have a great weekend and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.